Everybody knows that right now sales are down dramatically over last year. The frenzy that we saw in the spring of 2022 is over, and it's a real buyer's market right now where the power all sits with the people who are buying the properties, not those selling them, right? Well, not quite right, actually. Let's take a look in this month's report. Hi, my name is Stephen Berg from the Berg Homes team at Century 21 Executives. And every month we look at the previous month's sales statistics and try and analyze what's going on. And we also take a look at the right now to figure out exactly what's going on and try and make a bit of a prediction about what's going to happen in the future. So I'm out and about this time of year at lots of birthday parties and those kinds of things, and everybody is telling me, hey, it's a buyer's market right now. And looking at the February stats, you might think that sales were down 50%, and the amount of inventory is still climbing, and so supply and demand dictates pricing. This has always been true and will always be true. But when you look behind the statistics as to what's going on the ground, it's a little bit of a different story. I mentioned in last month's real estate update that there was basically two markets. There was a small number of properties that were asking a fair price based upon current pricing trends and that were marketed very well. Then there was a huge amount of listings that were either asking an unfair price or that weren't marketed too well and just getting lost in the shuffle. And the owners that were in this section were actually doing pretty well. And that's panned out when I look at pricing because the actual sales from February show that pricing was pretty stable from January to February. What we saw was between April of 22 and November, pricing went down quite dramatically. But since November, we've seen a flat line. Now, I do feel like there's enough economic pressure out there to keep niggling away at pricing. But in the short term, while we've got a standoff between buyers and sellers, I don't think it's going to be a rapid decline here in the spring. And it feels like there's a lot more action all of a sudden now. The weather's got nicer and things are really turning. But often, I'm one of 1,000 realtors. So I took a look beyond those February statistics at what's going on for the first 19 days of March. And it backed up what I thought, actually. So while sales were down 50% in February, they're down less than 5% so far in March versus this time last year. And they're actually up quite considerably over 2017 sales numbers for this time. And 2017, if you remember, at the time, we all thought that was a great market. Looking back on 2021 and 22, obviously it wasn't as crazy as that, but by any normal standard, 2017 was a strong market. And so far this month, we're doing better than that. And so this is telling me that it's a continuation of the trend we saw last month, where there's not too much well-priced stuff, and there is still demand out there. So if you're thinking of selling your property this month, you still, if you have it marketed properly, and you are asking a fair price, not trying to get a price that you would have got in February 2022, you can still get a great price. And it's right around August to November 2021 prices, which at the time we thought were fantastic. So that's kind of where the market is sitting for you. Your challenge is going to be when you come to buy a property, because again, there's not a whole lot out there that is reasonably priced. So what we find we're doing right now is looking, as we mentioned, at the stuff that's not marketed so well, the hidden gems in amongst the inventory, or we're actually trying to target for you which neighborhood and price point you want, and we're actually sending out flyers within those neighborhoods to try and attract an owner that wants to have a hassle-free sale right away. So it's a big increase for us anyway in the off-market sales versus last year. It's a really interesting time. So looking forward, what are we going to see? Well, I gave up a long time ago making predictions. The big question is this March flurry that we're seeing start of a new normal as a result of the banks starting to soften those 5-year rates? Or is it just that there was lots of pent-up demand from a really, really slow fall and January and February? And so some people jumped off the fence and will continue to have some declines going into the rest of the year. I don't know, to be honest with you, but I do know right now that if you're selling, you can get a good price, and if you're buying with some help, you can still find a good deal. It's just a little bit trickier than people think. It's not this buyer's market where you can run around lowballing everybody. It's there's a little bit more finesse to it than that. The other trend that we looked at in last month's report was that because of all these market dynamics, we've gone from last year where anybody could sell a property to this year where it really matters once again, the realtor that you choose. And looking at the latest statistics, that's panned out too. When I look at all the top agencies in town and the top teams within those agencies, there is about a 7% span in pricing as opposed to what people are actually asking for a property versus getting for it. And we sit at the very top. We're at 99.2% of asking price, and it ranges all the way down to 92% of asking price. So there's a real wide range there. So it's really important that you pick a good realtor. There's also a wide range in selling times. The average is 64 days. Our average was 23, but there's some of the top teams out there are averaging much longer than 64 days. So you've really got to look between the lines. When people advertise that they are a top team, often it means they sold more than anybody else. And there's no question that some of those teams that I'm frankly bragging that we do a much better job getting our people higher pricing, they do sell more properties, but they list an awful lot more than us. We actually sell a much higher percentage of our listings. So just tagging on a little bit at the end there to remind you that the realtor you choose is really important right now. So that's the report here in March. We'll take a look in early April to see what's going on and see if this March flurry panned out or if it was just a bit of an anomaly. But taking away from this, just if you're at a cocktail party and people say what a buyer's market is right now, you can tell them really, if you're a buyer out there looking for a property, it truly isn't a free-for-all where you can have all the power. It's just not the case. Thanks, and as always, give me a shout if you would like to have any questions answered in the real estate world. It's a busy time of year, but we've always got time for you. Take care. Bye-bye.